John Kerry, the man, the myth, the three Purple Hearts. On November 17, 1968, Ensign John Kerry reported for duty at Coastal Squadron 1 in Cam Ranh Bay in South Vietnam to part in Operation Sea Lords. The goal was to project a U.S. military presence more aggressively into an area that had long been a Viet Cong stronghold. The swift boats were assigned to patrol the narrow waterways, inlets, canals, and coves of the Mekong River Delta to monitor enemy movements, indirect VC River-based supply lines, invite attack, and otherwise draw out hostile forces. During his tour of duty as an officer in charge of swift boats, Kerry led a 5-man cruise on patrols into enemy-controlled areas. His first command was swift boat PCF-44 from December 6, 1968 to January 21, 1969, when the crew was disbanded. On January 30th, Kerry took charge of PCF-94 and its crew, which he led until he left An Thoi Navy Base on March 26, 1969. On the night of December 2nd, 1968, and early morning of December 3rd, Kerry was in charge of a small boat operating in and around the peninsula of North Cam Ranh Bay. Together with a swift boat PCF-60, Kerry's boat surprised a group of VC unloading sampans at a river crossing, who began to run. When the men refused to obey an order to stop running, Kerry and his crew of 2 enlisted men opened fire, destroying the sampans. It was during this encounter where Kerry suffered a wound from a small piece of shrapnel in his left arm above his left elbow and was awarded his first Purple Heart. Kerry and his crew then saw action on the Bo Đi River on February 20th, 1969. The plan had been for the swift boats to be accompanied by support helicopters. On the way up the Bo Đi, however, the helicopters were attacked. They returned to their base to refuel and were unable to return to the mission for several hours. Kerry wrote of the event in his notebook, "We therefore had a choice, to wait for what was not a confirmed return by the helos and give any snipers more time to set up an ambush for our exit, or we could take a chance and exit immediately without any cover. We chose the latter." As the swift boats reached the Sulong River, Kerry's boat was hit by an RPG round and a piece of shrapnel hit Kerry's left leg. Thereafter, they had no more trouble and reached the Gulf of Thailand safely. He received his second Purple Heart in this injury, but did not take any time off from duty. Only 8 days later, on February 28th, Kerry was in tactical command of his swift boat and 2 other swift boats. Their mission included bringing a demolition team and dozens of South Vietnamese soldiers to destroy Viet Cong sampans, structures, and bunkers. Along the Bay Hap River, they ran into an ambush. According to Admiral Zumwalt's original medal citation, Kerry directed the boats to turn to the beach and charge the Viet Cong positions, and he expertly directed his boats' fire and coordinated the deployment of South Vietnamese troops. After the South Vietnamese troops and an accompanying team of 3 U.S. Army advisors had disembarked at the ambush site, Kerry's boat and another headed upriver to look for the fleeing enemies. The 2 boats came under fire from a Viet Cong B-40 rocket-propelled grenade, shattering the crew cabin windows of PCF-94. Kerry ordered the boats to turn and charge the second ambush site. As they reached the shore, a VC jumped out of the brush carrying a loaded B-40 launcher. With the VC only a short distance away from the boat and crew, forward gunner Tommy Bellodow shot him in the leg with the boat's M60 machine gun. Tommy in the pit tank winged him in the side of the legs as he was coming across. Fred Short said, "But the guy didn't miss a stride. I mean, did he not break the stride?" Bellodow's machine gun jammed after he fired, and while crewmates Michael Medeiros attempted to fire, he was unable to do so. Kerry leaped ashore and, followed by Medeiros, pursued the man and killed him. The medal citation notes that Kerry led an assault party and conducted a sweep of the area until the enemy had been completely routed. The mission was judged highly successful for having destroyed numerous targets and confiscated substantial combat supplies while sustaining no casualties. Kerry's CO, Lieutenant George Elliott, joked that he didn't know whether to court-martial Kerry for beaching the boat without orders or give him a medal for saving the crew. Elliott recommended Kerry for the Silver Star, and Zumwalt flew into an An Thoi to personally award medals to Kerry and the rest of the sailors involved in the mission. On March 13th, 5 swift boats were returning to base together on Bay Hap River from their missions that day. A mine detonated directly beneath one of the boats, PCF-3, lifting it into the air. Shortly thereafter, another mine exploded near Kerry's boat, PCF-94. James Rasman, a Green Beret advisor who was sitting on the deck of the pilot house eating a cookie, was knocked overboard. Just afterwards, the boat came under attack from both sides of the bank. Rasman dived to the bottom of the river repeatedly. When he came back up for air, the enemy fired at him. Rasman was heading back to the north bank, expecting to be taken prisoner when Kerry realized he was gone and came back for him. The Navy's account of Kerry's actions was presented in his medal citation. Lieutenant Kerry directed his gunners to provide suppressing fire while from an exposed position on the bow, his arm bleeding and in pain with a disregard for his own personal safety, he pulled the man aboard. Lieutenant Kerry then directed his boat to return and assist the other damaged craft and toward the boat safely. Lieutenant Kerry's calmness, professionalism, and great personal courage under fire were kept in with the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. PCF-94 received special recognition from Captain Roy Hoffman, the commander of Task Force 115 on March 14th in his weekly report to his men. Special recognition is due to the following unit this week for exceptional performance: to PCF-94 for providing extraordinary assistance to PCF-3, which was seriously damaged by a mine explosion while proceeding down the Bay Hap River. PCF-94 picked up the MSF Advisor out of the water and toward PCF-3 out of the danger area. PCF-43, 51, and 23 all assisted in suppression of automatic weapons and small arms fire, evacuation of wounded in action, and damage control effort on PCF-3. After the dazed and injured crew of PCF-3 had been rescued, PCFs 43 and 23 left the scene to evacuate the 4 most seriously wounded sailors. PCFs 51 and 94 remained behind and helped salvage the stricken boat together with a damage control party that had been immediately dispatched to the scene. Kerry received his 3rd Purple Heart after he was slightly injured earlier in the day by shrapnel from a grenade tossed into a rice bin. He got contusions on his right forearm from hitting the bulkhead when the mine exploded near his boat during the later action. John Kerry's later affiliation with VVAW, his time in the Senate, run for the presidency in 2004, the allegations of SBVT, his tenure as Secretary of State and Special Envoy for Climate are beyond the scope of this video. Did you know about John Kerry's naval service in Vietnam? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.